Hello, my name is Bill.
And my name is Danny, and we are
A couple of park hoppers. In this episode, we're going to tell you a little bit about ourselves and why we're bringing you this show.
Most importantly, though, we have a full review and breakdown.
Spoiler alert.
Of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which opened this week at Disney's Hollywood Studios.
Welcome to episode 1 of A Couple of Park Hoppers.
Let's hop to it. I can't believe that we are finally recording our first episode of A Couple of Park Hoppers.
After months of talking about it and thinking about it and wanting to do it.
And dreaming about it.
We're finally doing it.
Finally.
This is going to be so much fun.
I know. I think one of the things that I personally wanted to start with was telling our listeners a little bit of our background story.
Yeah, and how we got to where we are right now.
Yeah, exactly. You want to go first?
Sure, yeah. So Danny and I met almost 4 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
And, we met online via Twitter.
Shout out to Twitter.
Yep, shout out to that dating site, Twitter.
Yes.
Funny, at the time, there was no Disney connection whatsoever. It was actually a pro wrestling connection.
Yes.
And, try to keep the story short and sweet. She and I went back and forth over this picture of The Undertaker that looked like Abraham Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
And, a little flirtiness went on. And then I slid into third base and into those DMs.
He slid into the DMs, guys.
Exactly.
He was a perfect gentleman.
I was. It was not anything inappropriate.
Yes.
Put it that way.
He was
This
very
is a Disney
nice.
show. We gotta behave ourselves.
But you were a perfect gentleman.
I was very nice to you. And so you and I chatted on direct messages for a long time, and we eventually exchanged numbers. And then those numbers turned into phone calls, and then that phone call turned into FaceTime, and then that FaceTime turned into actual FaceTime when we met for the first time in December 2016.
A lifetime ago.
Seems like it. I mean, it's 2020 now.
I know.
Holy moly.
2020.
Goodness gracious.
Wonderful vision.
So then one thing led to another. We kind of went back and forth. She's originally from San Antonio, Texas.
Yes.
And I'm originally from the Boston area in Massachusetts. And so for about a year, we kind of went back and forth. I went to San Antonio. She came up to Boston to visit me. And we did that every month and a half, 2 months or so. And then we finally decided that, let's try to make this work. And she ended up kind of giving up her life in San Antonio and brought our little buddy Simba with her, and moved up to Boston with me. And that's where she was up until this past September, where we kind of got tired of our old jobs. Granted, she's still doing the same thing, but in a different location. Mm-hmm. And hopefully this can turn into a job, and we can both have, quit your job money and enjoy ourselves and go to the parks all the time and not have to worry about working 40 hours a week.
Right. Well, and the funny thing is thinking back on all of this, everything that's brought us here has just been, we couldn't have planned it better ourselves.
No, honestly.
The universe really put us into each other's lives without us trying.
It's really quite crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, it really is.
Like, what are the odds of talking to somebody that's like 2,000 miles away across the country and falling in love with them?
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that I think that people, some people thought that, I was a fan of your old show and maybe that's how we met, but right. I didn't even know what you did.
Yeah, and so
at the time.
What Danny's referencing is the New Age Insiders Wrestling Show, which I used to produce for about 5.5 years. We would talk weekly about professional wrestling, and so that's where my Twitter presence sort of came from, and that's how we kind of started interacting, was talking wrestling. But she didn't, like she said, she didn't know about the wrestling show when we started talking.
Right. And Disney had been such a big part of both of our lives.
Absolutely.
And I think the year before we started talking, both of us had been at Disney, or maybe it was 2 years before then, within the same 6 weeks.
Yeah, right.
I don't think we've ever looked back and to see like if we were there at the same time.
Yeah.
But I mean, we were both there for that Christmas time.
Right.
And so it's just so crazy that, we had so much in common and we just clicked so well.
Mm-hmm.
And, making that decision to move up to Massachusetts was a tough one, but I think it was one that, it taught me a lot. And I love Texas so much. Massachusetts, I really couldn't handle the winter.
Oh, yeah. As somebody who grew up in the heat, I'm sure that was kind of unbearable to you.
It's not even the heat. It's more the sunshine, the vitamin D.
Right, yeah.
Because even when you have people who are, suffering from like seasonal affective disorder, they're even people who are like depressed, that one of the things that they will sometimes prescribe them is sunshine. They'll get like a little heat, like the tanning lamps, and
right.
they'll make them just like take in some sunshine.
Right.
And so not being around that sunshine was very, very odd.
I can personally attest to the fact that 32 years in Massachusetts and then coming down here to Orlando, Florida has changed my life, both physically and mentally.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm a lot happier now. And like you were talking about the vitamin D.
Yeah.
It's really a thing. Like I feel better all the time.
Yes.
I feel healthier.
Yeah.
I feel happier.
Yes.
It's just an overall
above.
great situation. I couldn't be happier with
Yeah.
with the move that we made. But the move that we made was in September. It was about almost 6 months ago now.
Almost 6 months.
And so Danny and I moved down here, and she ended up getting another job, and I ended up getting another job. And here we are, annual pass holders at Walt Disney World, and hopefully soon to be annual pass holders at other places that we can talk about on this show.
Yeah.
And, here we are as a couple of park hoppers.
Yeah.
Starting out this cool little venture.
And one of the cool things about our entire relationship, everything that we've done for our relationship has been, people always thought that it was hard to like move here, move there, like be long distance. And none of it was ever hard because we have so much in common and we love each other so much.
Right.
But one of the things that I think we were the most excited about, especially when we were living in Massachusetts, was the prospect of being able to live within 10 minutes of, especially, like most specifically, the Disney parks.
Correct.
So being able to live that life right now for us has been so amazing. Just because instead of us going home and maybe watching a movie, just
a favorite TV show,
hanging out in the house, which we're homebodies sometimes
right.
too. Like,
sure, yeah.
But when we actually want to go out and do something, we go to the parks.
Right.
And
whereas back in Massachusetts, we used to sort of live vicariously through some of the vloggers that we would watch on YouTube. What's new in the parks? What's going on in the parks? But we couldn't be there, but we wanted to be there.
Absolutely. And it's amazing. And I couldn't have asked for a better first half of the year living in Orlando, where we're surrounded by all our favorite things. And we've barely scratched the surface is sometimes what I feel like.
Yeah, for real.
But
there's still so much to be done. There was a list that I made in my phone of a ton of things that I hadn't done at any of the parks.
Right.
And I still haven't completed them.
Oh, we'll
I've
get
completed
there.
a lot of them.
Yeah.
But still haven't completed all of them because there's so much fun stuff to do.
Yeah, you also need, if you want to do everything super quickly, you also need like an empty or like a completely, bottomless pocket to be able to pay.
Right.
But, as much as we love Disney, we don't have bottomless pockets.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah, hopefully soon. But, we are just... I love doing this with you. I told you, obviously you guys were not hearing what we were saying when we were having dinner a little bit ago, but I turned to Bill and I was like, I'm just so happy that I get to do this with you.
100%.
This is so much fun.
Right back at you.
And not just the podcast, but being able to go on adventures and, take last minute trips and, then come back right home to our apartment and hang out here. So we're going to be really letting you guys into our lives and letting you hear and see what everything is about and
experience those adventures with us.
Yeah. One thing that I think I got a lot more of than I expected when I told people that we were going to move to Orlando or when we announced it, I had a lot of people go, "Oh my gosh, you're living my dream. Like,
Yeah.
and I was like, what?
It's crazy how many people say that to me too.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, this is a vacation hub.
Yeah.
And so you wait all year to go on this vacation. And we didn't want to do that anymore.
Right. And it was way more costly to do so, doing it the other way.
Yeah.
But now we have our favorite place in the world at our disposal.
Right.
And it's the best.
Yeah. I mean, we get to hear and see things that we normally probably wouldn't get a chance to.
Right.
We get to take the time that we really want to in the park. So if we have a day that we're like...
That's the biggest difference.
Yeah, like I want to see something that I normally don't see.
Right.
Or if I was on vacation, I might be like, I'm not wasting a single second doing that. That's not what my Disney moments are going to be for.
Exactly. You come down here on vacation, you got like 5 park hopper tickets or something, and it's like fast pass. We got to hit this. We got to hit this. We got to hit this. Skip that. We don't need to see that.
Rope
it's
drop.
not that important. Fast pass.
Yeah.
Dining reservation.
And then,
everything's crazy for 5 days.
And then you rope drop, and then you close the park, and then you're exhausted, and you get cranky.
And you need a vacation from the vacation.
And you fall asleep in Carousel of Progress.
It is a great, big, beautiful tomorrow, though.
It is, but...
Shining at the end of every day.
Yes, but usually the summer days that I would go on that ride, that was my nap time.
Yes. It's a great, big, beautiful AC.
It is a great, big, beautiful AC, now that you mention it. Well, I think that we've had a little bit of background, and I think from here on out, you won't have to hear us talking about all this stuff.
We'll just dive right into the topics going forward. But we kind of wanted to give you a backstory of how we met, how we got together, how we got to Orlando, and where we go from here.
Yeah, and we will always, chat a little bit and let you guys in on what's going on in our lives, because we do want you guys to feel like, you're getting to know us, and we want to get to know you guys too. So we're excited to bring you on this adventure.
So Danny, one of my favorite things of our experience having moved down here to Orlando, Florida, was that day one.
Day one.
Okay. We got down here.
Oh, yeah.
We had an inflatable mattress.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't have our bed and most of our stuff yet because it was coming the next day.
No bed, no stuff.
So day one,
yep,
we became Disney annual pass holders.
Oh, yes, we did.
Speaking of day ones, today, or I guess yesterday, Wednesday, March 4th, was day one for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway.
Yes, it was. We got to go on it.
We sure did. Now, we didn't get up at the crack of dawn with the crazy vloggers and the people willing to wait 5 hours in line. We waited till the end of the day to see what that experience was going to be like.
And we did talk about getting up at like 3 o'clock in the morning to get there.
But we're both very busy people still. I'm working 6 days this week, and I really didn't feel like getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning yesterday morning.
Yeah, and I have a full-time job, and I'm trying to start a business on the side.
Right.
So that will hopefully turn full-time here soon. Mm-hmm. And then we're also trying to do these things in putting our passion into it. So
and going forward, try to cover the most awesome stuff for you guys.
Yeah, and that is why ultimately we decided maybe 3 a.m. is
probably not our best choice.
Probably not the best idea. So what we did was we did some adulting things, as we have to do, things that are boring, laundry and chores and stuff.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But then...
And a delicious Mexican buffet.
Yes. We will talk to you guys about all of our experiences here.
Maybe in an off-property dining episode.
Yes.
There we go.
We will get there. We'll have to tell you all about our secret finds.
Yeah.
But what we decided to do was to snag some fast passes and head on down to Hollywood Studios a little bit later in the evening. Well, once we got there, what we decided to do was we decided to jump in line right away for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway
Railway.
Railway.
Those fast passes.
Well, I feel like we weren't necessarily gonna, not do them, but that's what ended up happening. We ended up just having to cancel them and not use them at all.
Being a good decision. We'll tell you why a little bit later.
Yes. So we're gonna kind of walk you through about what Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway was like.
It's so hard to say.
It is so hard to say.
It's so funny. We watched Jack on DSNY Newscast for a long time trying to pronounce, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. It's like, man, that's such a tongue twister.
It is a tongue twister.
I cannot imagine having to say that so many times in episodes of things that you're doing.
Oh, well, and
here we go.
Here you go. So what we decided to do, we arrived at, what would you say, about 5:45?
Yeah, about 6 o'clock. Maybe a little bit earlier.
Well, we jumped into line at 5:50.
Okay.
That was the exact time because we made
Close
note.
enough.
Yeah. Well, every minute
For the sake
counts.
of numbers.
For the sake of numbers. We jumped into line at 5:50. And first off, the outside of the building looks wonderful.
Yes.
The sign outside, it's very eye-catching. It's very vibrant, and it really invites you into the building, I feel like.
It does. The neon sign is really cool.
Yes. And they one thing that was really cool, it was a little bit hotter out today, so the temperature was just under 90 degrees, and so they actually had water stations along the lines. So if you were going to get thirsty, they were offering you water, which is a nice a nice thing. We don't want anybody passing out and just trying to get on that first ride.
Mm-hmm.
So we jumped in line, grabbed a sip of water,
Yep.
and proceeded to wait in line.
Yeah, we met a couple of wonderful people in line. Just want to give them a shout out real quick. We
Yeah.
met Sarah, we met Abby, and Allison in line, and they were really, really cool.
They were great. They helped the time pass by
Yeah.
very quickly. And so, yeah, shout out to them. And so we were in line, and a couple other things. They had fans going.
Mm-hmm.
They had water out. They were doing their best to make sure that, the park guests were staying nice and cool. And for a while, we were going at a nice clip.
We were flying.
Yeah. But then,
Hold up. Hit the brakes.
So the Runaway Railway hit a little snag.
Yeah.
So
It derailed.
Well, what ended up happening was we kind of got stuck in the same spot for probably about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, it was an extended closure for sure. The app said it was temporarily closed, so we know it was definitely down.
Yeah, it was definitely down. It gave us, some time to talk to the people around us and discuss favorite restaurants and favorite characters and favorite places in the park.
And promote the podcast.
And promote the podcast. Yeah, talk about what we're doing right now. And so we did have to wait in line for a little bit longer than anticipated. But the thing is, when it comes to the first opening day of a ride,
you can put up with that kind of
like
stuff.
I was not mad about it
and
at all.
if you can't, then you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, and I heard, there was this lady behind us who kept making comments.
Yeah.
But the thing was, this is opening day of the ride and you don't have a fast pass.
And we've already put like tens of thousands of people through it already.
Yeah, it's just bound to happen.
Right.
So for anybody who complains about a wait time, the ride just opened.
At Disney, patience is a virtue.
Yes, be patient. It's worth it. So once the ride, once the line for the ride started moving again, a couple things that we got to point out was all the fun hidden Mickeys in the queue.
So one of the girls we met in line was telling us that supposedly there's the most hidden Mickeys of any queue ever.
Which we're going to try to go back and see where we can find them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's beautiful in there. And I would say that it looks almost like
It almost looks untouched.
Yeah, it almost looked untouched from the Great Movie Ride.
Have been changed, but the indoor, like the giant red columns and the Chinese wallpaper and that kind of stuff, is all very similar or still there.
Right, but it looks pristine.
Yes,
that's the best
right.
word I have to describe it. But then when you're walking, there's actually these screens that are supposed to look like movie posters.
Yep.
And they keep rotating, and they're very cute, very funny. Very punny as well.
Absolutely.
And so that was fun. Like, there's a lot of stuff that if you're in line, like you can either focus on the fact I'm in line and I'm a little cranky about it, or enjoy the ambience of what's going on around you.
Right.
So I really, it was a little bit of a wait, but I enjoyed the wait. It was not bad.
Absolutely. Do you want to kind of dive into, like the full description of what from the queue to the end of the ride, and we can comment on, scenes and everything kind of like that?
Yeah, definitely. I think that I wanted to talk a little bit about the queue because that struck me. I really appreciated keeping the inside of the Great Movie Ride kind of like a nod to it, because a lot of people really did love that ride.
The Disney purists were going to be upset about stuff like that if, the inside of the Chinese theater looked totally different.
Honestly, that's what I expected.
The outside looks almost exactly the same, minus the very bright neon sign.
Right.
But, that there was a neon sign for the Great Movie Ride as well. So it's kind of a little bit of a nod to that.
Right. And then the hidden Mickeys are fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yes, let's talk about what happened once we got into that main room and they started splitting us up into like our are groups.
Yeah, there's a couple of different pre-show theaters. So from our friends from fandom.com, they have this wonderful description. And, it says Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway is framed as a premiere of the new Mickey Mouse short titled Perfect Picnic held at the Chinese Theater. And when it opens in Disneyland, it's going to be at the El Capitan Theater. So Perfect Picnic, the short, it opens with Mickey, Minnie, and Pluto setting out for a picnic in Runamuck Park, singing the attraction's very, very catchy theme song, Nothing Can Stop Us Now. What do you think of the song? I thought it was super cute.
I was dancing in the little theater. I feel like I was the only one dancing. There were like a bunch of kids and stuff around, but I just couldn't help but to dance. Are we gonna get a little snippet?
Yeah, we'll get a little snippet.
Let's get a little snippet.
We'll play it for the people.
Nothing can stop us now. I'll tell you how. We're gonna make it happen. Let's take a ride and spend the day in the countryside. Good times are here to stay. We'll get away and have a perfect picnic. We'll sing a song and absolutely nothing will go wrong.
So I love this little room, and not because of the reason that you might think. It's not just because it's the beginning of the attraction. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
There is a moment.
Real quick, though. I love the last line of that clip that we played. It says, nothing could possibly go wrong.
Oh, ironic.
Yeah.
The irony.
Something. Just wait.
Just wait. Well, the really cool part about that is they have this magic that they do.
It really is magic.
Where Goofy actually, he drives through the screen, I believe?
Yeah, so Mickey and Minnie soon drive by Goofy in this short, and who's conducting the Runamuck Railroad that surrounds the park. And when their car hits a bump crossing the railroad track, the trunk pops open, releasing Pluto, who's in the trunk for some reason.
That's unsafe.
And the picnic basket into the air, which Pluto quickly manages to save and try to get back to Mickey and Minnie. However, a pie from the basket lands in the train's smokestack, causing Goofy to crash into the railroad's train barn and then punching a hole through the movie screen. And so that's what Danny was referencing there, the magic. All of a sudden, it was wild. Like the screen just kind of like exploded out. Like, if you're watching like an old cartoon and like a hole happens in the screen, or if you're watching like an old movie somebody's in like in a movie theater and like the hole gets blown in the screen. That's what it looked like.
Yeah.
The hole kind of like expanded out at you, and with a bunch of fog and smoke that came out of there. And then Goofy is inviting guests, like us, the guests, to walk through the screen into the cartoon and take a ride on the train. I thought that was such a cool effect in that room.
Yeah, and pro tip, when you walk into the room, go to the middle front of the fence.
Yes, if you can.
If you can, don't push past anybody because everybody will get like the same spot. But if you are one of the first people in the room, walk to the middle front because that's where you're going to walk through. If you're like me and are like, I want to get on the ride, let's go.
I thought that was so cool. Like, usually when you're on an attraction or in the queue, you just kind of walk through a door and you go into the next room or the next room. But the screen we were watching actually, quote unquote, exploded. And we walked through into the final part of the queue.
Right. They used magic to bring you directly into the short film.
It was pretty amazing.
Yeah. So after that, we walked into another room. So another small queue, I would say, to get onto to get on the train.
Yes.
So let's see, where were we?
After climbing aboard and traveling through a tranquil, sunny day in the park with a cheery song, which was Nothing Can Stop Us Now.
Yes.
A chirping bird named Chubby, we enter a railroad tunnel where Goofy greets us from the back of the train engine. Mickey and Minnie soon drive by in their car to greet the guests, but accidentally hit a track switch, causing Goofy's engine to separate us from the rest of the train. Now, did you notice the slight callback to the Great Movie Ride in that scene?
Was that from the car?
Yes.
Yes.
When the car pulls up in the shootout scene?
Yes.
That's what that reminded me of, because it was on the right side and it was out of a little tunnel.
Right.
And that seemed like a really cool callback to the Great Movie Ride.
Yes. And I do have to say, when that car appeared, I was like, whoa,
yeah.
It's so cool looking.
And not only did the car appear, but inside there was 2 audio animatronics of Mickey and Minnie in the current form that they're animated in.
Yes.
And I thought that was really, really cool.
It was very cool. And I do have to say that by now, in case you guys haven't figured it out, we are already in the train on the ride.
Yes.
Now, for those of you who are concerned about the speed of the ride, I do have people who I know who maybe don't like drops, don't like roller coasters. And one thing that I do want to assure you of is it goes about the same speed as the Great Movie Ride. It's very gentle and not too fast. Maybe a little bit faster. But if anybody is concerned about that, then I would probably watch a ride-through video.
Yeah.
But just from my experience today, I wouldn't worry about anything like that.
Yeah, no. You want to touch on the other ride elements that may be a little bit of a concern to people? You know, there's a slight spinning element every once in a while.
So
and we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, so anybody who might be motion sick, or are more prone to getting dizzy from effects,
very sensitive to it. Because it's not bad at all.
Yeah, there is some spinning. Again, it's gentle. It's nothing that I felt a child would scare a child
there was like
or
a
anything like
3-year-old
that.
child next to me on the car.
Right. But also the effects are very, very impressive.
Yes.
And they make you feel like you're dropping, spinning, flying, dancing.
But you're not actually.
You're not actually doing any of those things. So if you are a little bit more sensitive to any of those things, I would, again, watch a ride-through video, make that decision for yourself.
Yeah.
But
it's very family friendly though. So strongly recommend for any age.
It's just very immersive and very impressive in terms of the effects and the way that it feels like you are in some place that you're definitely not.
Completely agree.
All right, so let's take a look. So where did we stop?
Mickey and Minnie race into action and try to save the guests, us, as we enter an Old West Canyon scene where Mickey and Minnie ride on horseback to rodeo the stampeding trains. The train then enters a carnival featuring Donald Duck running a hot dog stand, Horace running a popcorn booth, Huey, Dewey, and Louie among the guests looking for a good time, and Pluto still carrying the picnic basket looking for mice.
Oh my goodness. I didn't even see Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
You didn't see him?
No.
Oh, I saw him.
I saw Mickey and Minnie, I think, on a balloon.
Yes.
So I think this is going to be one of those rides that every time I ride it, I'm going to notice something different.
Correct, yeah. And one of the cool parts is, when the train separates from Goofy, the train actually isn't attached.
Right.
So there's the engine part where Goofy is, and then there's 4 cars behind it. But once you detach from Goofy's train, the 4 cars kind of go off in different directions.
Right.
And looking at different parts of the scene and like turning around and checking out this part over here or going into a tunnel this way.
Seeing this moment.
Yeah, it's a trackless ride system, very smooth. Like very slow spinning, strongly recommend.
Yes, and there's so much going on. I feel like no matter where you look, you're going to see a different part of the story unfolding
100%.
in front of you. You want me to read the next part?
Yeah, sure. And like you were saying before,
Mickey and Minnie come floating in on balloons to try and help the train, but the Twister logo on the side of the carnival's wooden roller coaster comes to life and sweeps up the carnival in a storm. The tornado carries the train, Mickey, Minnie, and Pluto to a tropical island where a volcanic eruption sends us off the course and down a waterfall into the sea.
how cool was that scene?
That was crazy.
We went into some giant dark room with like a physical twister in the middle of it spinning, and the wind was like blowing my hair everywhere, and I don't even have any hair.
Yeah.
It was blowing your hair everywhere. Almost blew your headband off.
Yeah, and one thing that you guys will learn about me is I very rarely go to Disney World without having ears on.
Right.
I do love my ears. For our listeners, if you guys ever have ears that you like or love or recommend, definitely tweet or tag us and stuff because I love that stuff. But yes, my ears were like I had to grab
I saw
them.
you grabbed them.
I was like, oh no, I'm gonna lose my ears.
We're expecting that kind of breeze.
Yeah, but it made you feel a little bit more like you were in the tornado.
Yeah, no, it's definitely immersive. And like Danny said, when you're in the middle of a tornado, you're not going to not feel wind. So why not have it be super windy in there?
Yeah. And then we go to a tropical island where a volcanic eruption, that was very windy too.
Yeah, it was.
The tropical island was really cool. I feel like when you first go into the room, you're like, where are we? And then Mickey and Minnie appear from that little tree in the middle, and that was really, really cute.
Another set of audio animatronic figures too. There's the whole room is based on what they're calling 2.5D, or the whole ride, I guess.
Right.
And the scenes, like the backgrounds of the scenes, are these beautiful, stunning, like better than 4K quality video screens in the back that are kind of just layering the whole walls that you're of the place that you're in.
Vibrant, beautiful.
Colors are
so
amazing.
Clear.
Yes.
And
But to calm people's nerves, they do have a lot of animatronics.
yes.
Which I know a lot of the Disney purists and the people who are getting new rides, oh, why are they using screens again? Well, how do you expect to be put into a Mickey Mouse short without using some type of screen? Like, honestly, I want people listening to this to actually tweet us. Let me know what your ideas are for getting into a Mickey Mouse short without using some sort of screen, because I
Right.
bet you don't have one.
I try to go into every ride with an open mind.
Yeah.
And not have any preconceived notions of what I am expecting, because I feel like sometimes I do get upset.
Yeah.
But I didn't really know what to expect from this ride.
Right.
So seeing these audio animatronics being taken on this journey and this adventure with Mickey and Minnie, it's fairly fast paced, and they do a beautiful job of seamlessly taking you from like scene to scene to scene.
Right.
And even watching it back, we watched like a ride through before we did this, just because we wanted to make sure it was fresh in our minds. I was like, oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
And there's so many beautiful pieces of it that make it go seamlessly together.
I think one of the coolest things that I noticed about this ride, and you just pointed it out, you said the transitions were seamless.
Yes.
Where the beauty of a trackless system, instead of riding on a track where you're facing one way like the old Great Movie Ride, where you'd be coming to the end of a scene, but you could kind of see into the next room and see
Right.
what's going on. In this ride with the trackless ride system, your car essentially turns and you're only looking at what you need to be looking at.
Yeah.
And then when you need to transition away, your car turns and now you're looking at what you need to be looking at.
And I also felt like there were moments where they were turning us and changing the scene on
Yes.
the screen.
Uh-huh.
So they did a lot to really take us from place to place, but make you feel like you were moving.
Right.
So I thought those scenes were exciting.
Absolutely.
And very, just very vibrant and fun.
Absolutely.
So I really did enjoy watching those scenes.
Absolutely. Passing the submarine and musical sea life.
I enjoyed that.
That was really cool. We run into a giant squid that plays a trumpet, and we find ourselves sucked into a sewer pipe and emerge into a big city.
And I think that was the part where we had like around us on both sides of us, there was water, almost as if you were like being taken by the water.
We see Pete, good old Pete, working on road construction, another audio animatronic.
A big one.
Yeah, huge. Working with a jackhammer powerful enough to shake the neighboring buildings, while Donald can be seen again in a truck stuck in traffic that the train accident has caused.
Yeah, that was a cool animatronic. I think he was an audio animatronic.
Donald was too, yes.
Yeah, there was just so much to see. Like I was trying to take in every moment, and
For the most part, the characters, the Mickey Mouse cartoon characters, were all animatronics.
yeah.
For the most part.
I mean, all of that room, I feel like I never even looked to the left
Yeah, right.
because I was too busy. Pete and Donald are both on your right-hand side, and so I never even looked to the left, to be honest.
Right.
So-
right. So that's another thing, depending on which car you end up in the train, which
Yeah.
way you might be looking. And then just another time when we ride it again, I'm going to be looking for that stuff on that side instead.
Right.
So then after that, we enter a dance studio. This is one of my favorite parts
That's
of
what
the
I was
ride.
about to say too.
Yeah, we enter a dance studio owned by Daisy Duck, who instructs the train cars in a dancing waltz before establishing a conga line out. So let's kind of describe this. For those of you who have been on Rise of the Resistance, Danny said this to me while we were on the ride. It looked like Daisy was using the Force,
Yes, it did.
like Kylo Ren's animatronic in Rise of the Resistance.
Right. And she was her animatronic was so cute.
It was great.
I did not.
It might be the best one.
Yeah, I guess I just, since I didn't want to be, I didn't want to know quite too much about what I was going into. I didn't know about that scene. So
Right.
as soon as we went in, and she's using her hands to, count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And your vehicle is actually moving to the beat.
It's almost like she's conducting our vehicles with the force.
And then the one thing that I thought was really, really cute, for those of you who have ever taken a dance class, whether it was, when you were a small child, whether it was more recently, the room actually looks like a dance studio.
It does.
And in front of you are all mirrors. So you can actually watch your ride vehicle doing the dance.
Yep.
In like right next to the bar that, you would reach out and grab and do all your plies and
so
stuff like
great.
that. So it was, it really brought you into that moment.
Yeah.
I was having like little flashbacks of when I was a kid being at, dance.
Yeah.
So, but that was fun. And then that, boom, conga. And then you left the
You
room.
switch from the waltz to the conga, and then it's a much more intense, more fun, jam out dance.
Yes.
And your cars are doing the same thing. It was super fun. That
This is a
scene was
really
awesome.
fun room.
It really was.
I wasn't expecting, I didn't know that I should be expecting that, but that was a fun room to be in.
For those of you who are planning on riding Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, you know that you're going to enjoy the heck out of the room when you see Daisy Duck.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
going to be a lot of fun. So the dancing cars, they exit through an alley and enter a dangerous factory with a giant crushing machine where Mickey and Minnie try to deactivate the machinery to save the guests. This scene was very cool.
It was very intense too.
Yes.
And not in a bad way, just like, whoa, there's so much happening.
Yeah, yep. So you see this giant crushing machine straight ahead against the wall, and you don't see any openings or anything in the wall, and you're like, where are these cars going to go?
Right.
You wonder, they're not going to go through this wall. They're not going to go left. They're not going to go right. What are we doing here? And so Mickey and Minnie end up saving the day. And then something crazy happens on the walls of the scene. It transitions into another scene.
Yeah.
So another amazing 2.5D representation of another scene on these beautiful screens that they have in this room. And you're just transported into another scene post escaping the factory.
Yes. And I really feel like, again, I keep saying that it's seamless, but I really do think that it's seamless the way that scene literally unfolds.
Yes.
Because it felt like it unfolded.
You know what it looked like? Is when in Harry Potter, when they go to Diagon Alley for the first time, and all those bricks kind of move.
It did
but
kind
it
of
was
look
much
like that.
faster pace.
Yes.
But it just kind of moved piece by piece into another scene that it was the technology in that ride is fantastic.
Yeah, it's so impressive.
Between Rise of the Resistance and Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, I feel like if this is the future of theme park rides, then oh my goodness, I'm all in.
Yes, me too.
Because they are so immersive.
Yes. I can't wait. I wish we could have gone again, but we'll get to that here in a second.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to go over the last scene. After successfully shutting the factory down, it transforms into a moonlight night at the park. As we enter a tunnel, our train reunites with Goofy's engine, where he is concluding his guided tour and hopes we had a good time. We then see Mickey, Minnie, and Pluto enjoying their picnic, singing one final rendition of Nothing Can Stop Us Now while fireworks go off in the sky above and we return back to the train barn. This was my personal, a lot of the scenes were so amazing, but this one was so cute.
Yeah, and Pluto.
Pluto was my Pluto might be my favorite animatronic off of the whole ride.
It's very close between the Daisy Duck animatronic and the Pluto at the end.
I was doing that thing that, sometimes people do where they go, oh, and grab their chest.
You
and
literally did.
I was like, look at Pluto. He's so cute. Because he's just sitting next to Mickey and Minnie, and Mickey's strumming his guitar, singing to Minnie, and he's just swaying back and forth to Mickey's jams, being a good boy. It was just so cute.
It was adorable.
And then one thing that I saw, and I'm sure that you saw it too, the fireworks that were going off above them, there were Mickeys.
Yep, I did see that.
Love those touches.
I think one of the really cool things about the beginning of this scene is when all of our train cars, like we said, it was a trackless ride system, and they all separated at one point. They all just kind of came back together in line.
Seamlessly.
And leave it to Goofy, that goof,
That goof.
not knowing that the cars had essentially detached behind him, was just continuing the tour as if nothing had ever happened.
Yes.
If we hadn't gone underwater or over a waterfall or almost died with Pete or almost got crushed by machinery in a factory. No, Goofy had no idea none of that stuff ever happened.
Well,
He thought we were behind him the whole time.
He's goofy.
He's a goof.
Yeah, he just, he's goofy. He just stays calm.
Gorge.
Oh, there you go.
I wish I could do the laugh.
I cannot do any
or
of
the
those.
the fall off the cliff screen.
Maybe we'll have to work on that for future episodes.
Yeah.
I think that, the scene at the end was beautifully done. And, you come back up, you unload off of the ride, and the adventure is over.
Yeah.
But one thing that I do want to mention for those of you who are going to the parks, originally, what we were planning on doing was going to the park, getting on our fast passes, jumping on the ride about 8 maybe, because the park closed at 8:30.
Yeah.
Well, we got off the ride at 8:15. And, I turned to Bill. I was like, I want to go again. And I walked over
Normally
to the
you
front.
can.
Yeah, normally you can. And I walked to the front and I was trying to see what the wait time was. And one of the very friendly Disney employees, he was like, oh, what can I help you with? And I said, I'm just trying to see how long the wait is right now. And he said, oh, I'm sorry, we're not taking anybody else for the ride tonight. Which, if we had come and gone on our fast passes,
God, I would have been so mad.
and then we couldn't go on the ride. Luckily, we live here now, so I wouldn't have been I wouldn't have been furious.
Yeah, but this episode would have been delayed, so you're welcome, people.
You're welcome. But it was a little bit disappointing that they cut off early, and it doesn't say that anywhere.
Yeah, right.
And I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that. But as far as I know, I never saw anything saying that Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway was going to stop taking people for the ride earlier than the park closed.
Right. And I know on some of the higher or the more popular attractions where the lines are really long all day, I don't think that's the case on any of the other ones, because I've gotten on rides like Slinky Dog 5 minutes before closing.
Seven Dwarfs Mine Train.
Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, and they've never turned anybody away before park closing. So I got to think it was probably like wow, we were really busy on our first day. Like let's kind of give the machine a rest.
Yeah, but I also I want people who are listening to know that you are planning to do that, don't bet on it. Don't make that your only chance of going on the ride. We're going to go back and, we're going to see if that's the case. Yeah. Maybe we'll do another closing and see if we can get on. And maybe it was like a first night kind of a thing, like you said. But just a heads up, if you guys are planning on doing that, we got the stop sign.
Yeah,
so
go a little earlier.
Yeah, go a little earlier. But overall, I loved the ride. I thought it was so cute and so fun.
On a scale from 1 to 10, what would you give it?
I would probably give it a 9.
Okay.
Only because I would give it a 10, but I'm going to be very honest.
Yeah.
The new way of animating Mickey is not my favorite.
Yeah.
I have a lot of trouble seeing the Mickey that I grew up with and loved in that Mickey. Mm-hmm. It's almost like I'm starting to appreciate the new animation as a character outside of it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's drawn so far from its original.
Right.
But I don't hate it. I just don't. It's not my favorite.
The shorts are really good, but the shorts, the way they're drawn, is jarring.
Yes.
It looks so different from what you're used to seeing Mickey, and all the walk-around characters that you see in the parks don't look like that. They look like the Mickey you remember.
Well, let's be honest. If they were to create a Mickey that you can meet that are from the shorts, would it not be super terrifying?
Kind of, because the animatronics were a little jarring as well.
But they're like the way the new rounded out more.
Right, because the way the new Mickey is drawn, it's more of like a side profile. You're kind of looking at his face from the side.
Yeah.
So when you
it's
look
Picasso-like.
Right, yeah. So when you're looking at the animatronic, it's sort of turned to the side, but because they have the new projection mapped faces on them,
right,
it looks a little wonky.
Yeah.
But you got to suspend your disbelief when you go on these things, and I still had a ton of fun.
Yeah, that's why I would give it a 9, just
Yeah.
because it's not my favorite. It was just so impressive. What would you give it?
I'd say about a solid 8.5.
Okay.
For the same reason that you said.
Okay.
With the animation style. And a minor nitpick of mine, which was, Russi Taylor, rest in peace. She recently passed away. She was the voice of Minnie Mouse.
Right.
That was the last thing she recorded.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So she was the voice of Minnie in this ride.
Oh,
Bill Farmer,
love that.
the voice of Goofy.
right.
All these, Tony Anselmo, he's the voice of Donald Duck. Everybody's in this ride except for Brett, who's the voice of Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, I'm wondering why that was.
It sounded like, I don't know who's doing the voice. I'm sure we could find it. But it sounded like a weird, not so great impression of Mickey Mouse. And that to me was kind of jarring as well.
Yeah, but I
But-
feel like isn't the drawings a weird...
Right, but all the other voices are in with the weird drawings, so I can kind of, I hear it, I'm like, oh, that's Goofy. Oh, that's Minnie.
For
But I
those
hear, Mickey, it sounds like this. It's like, that's not Mickey Mouse.
and for our listeners, one thing that you will learn is that Bill can hear all that stuff and I cannot.
Yeah.
Bill has
Well, I watch a lot of that behind the scenes stuff too.
Right, but you have such a good ear for so many things, audio and for voiceovers, and being that you're so wonderful at these things yourself. But I never would have picked that out.
Yeah.
So I don't think the average person will be like, who's that weird voice of the mouse?
Yeah. But I think the average person would be able to tell that he sounds differently.
But I think he just looks so different too. Like I
Yeah.
don't think that it's not like regularly drawn Mickey with a different voice. It's differently drawn Mickey with maybe a slightly different voice.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to, and I could be wrong. We'll have to see what other people say about it. But I was just so drawn in to the experience that I wasn't really paying attention to that.
And then we were having this discussion with the girls in the line with us here that, the people were saying that they don't go to Disney because there's not a lot of thrill rides. But, for this ride, knowing that it was going to be a trackless ride system and knowing what Rise of the Resistance is like, and for those of you who haven't ridden it, we'll dive into that in another episode.
Yes.
But there is a drop sequence. There is a lot of spinning. There's some moments that can kind of scare you a little bit. But in this ride, I was hoping for a little bit more, I wouldn't say violent, but more like speedy spinning, less crawling along and just a little bit more action.
I do think that, and two of my friends who have kids reached out to me already tonight and were like, hey, how was the ride? And one thing I told them was that their kids are going to love it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I think that...
I loved it.
Well, I loved it too, but I think that kids who watch the shorts, that this is a Mickey that they might be growing up with.
Right.
And they're also going on a ride that is more their speed.
Sure, yeah.
So I do feel like they took the interests of children a little bit more heavily into this ride than maybe they did
Completely
like Rise of the Resistance. And Rise of the Resistance is,
It's
also
the best
for
ride
children.
Disney's ever made.
Yes, but I just coming off of it, that's how I felt.
Correct. Yeah, you're right.
Which isn't a bad thing.
No, not at all.
You want these kids who are watching the Disney shorts and falling in love with Disney and Disney is in their homes. You want them to go on this ride and not be terrified.
Exactly.
But overall, I love this ride.
Yeah, solid 8.5 from me, and you said 9.
Yeah.
So it's strongly recommend.
And I think the animation will grow on me.
Definitely go on it.
Yes, definitely go on it.
And the lines, like we were saying, were moving. We were following some of our favorite Diz Twitter people earlier in the day, and when rope drop happened, the line was up to 3 hours. It was up to 5 hours at one point.
Yeah.
But it very quickly came down to 120 minutes, which is about 2 hours. It was under that for a little while, and it was day one. It was opening day. This is like the hype day of getting on this ride. So I got to imagine, having experienced Disney and kind of knowing how it works, I got to imagine these lines are going to be shorter, and the line moves. minus the 45-minute stoppage that we had when the ride went down.
Which happens.
It happens.
It's just such an intricate ride.
But that wasn't because of Fast Pass or anything like that. The ride physically went down, so nobody could get on.
Right. And I think the best advice that I can give, and I think it also, we'll have to talk about it later in another episode, that this is not the first ride that this has happened on, but the product that Disney is really delivering to us is so intricate. It's so complicated.
Yeah.
And it's so impressive and immersive that when it goes down, it's not like your phone that you just like
Right.
press the button on the side
It's
and
a major
in
reset.
30 seconds it
Yeah.
resets. It's a major reset. And so take that into consideration.
Yeah. Be patient.
Be patient.
The cast members are there to help you.
It's worth the wait.
Yes.
So I really hope that our listeners, that they really enjoy going on when they get to go on it, and also that they enjoy everything that we're going to be going over as we partake on this adventure as a couple of park hoppers.
And just my final point there was to sort of continue off what I was saying, is that we got in line just before 6 o'clock. We got off the ride at 8:10, and we had a 45-minute downtime. But when we got in line, it said 135 minutes.
Right.
Which was 2 hours and 15 minutes, which, if we didn't have that 45-minute downtime, it would have been about an hour and a half.
Right.
So, like I said, the lines move. Don't be afraid to get in line on this ride if you see a really long wait time, because it does move.
Yeah, it really does.
So, strongly recommend 8.5 from me, 9 from you. And, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, I'd say it's a smash hit.
I completely agree. Thanks for listening to our very first episode of A Couple of Park Hoppers. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
Also, be sure to follow @Park Hopper Show on Twitter and Instagram, and like A Couple of Park Hoppers on Facebook.
And until next time, we'll see you around the parks.